Hey everybody, it's Michael from Wahoo Comics here with another haul and speculation video. And as usual, I've got a bunch of books that I'm looking forward to showing you. And these books are actually part two of a big purchase that I made a few weeks ago. And if you want to see part one of these books, you can check out the link in the description below. And if you already saw that video, you might remember how at the end of it, I mentioned that my sleeper of the week, which was the first Hawkeye limited series, hinted at what I'm going to show you today. And so what was it that it hinted at? Well, the person who had put together this collection had put together an incredible run of Avengers. He had almost the first 300 issues. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you know that I eventually want to put together a full run of The Amazing Spider-Man. But I would also like to put together some full runs of some of these other older Marvel titles like the Avengers, and it's actually probably more likely that I'll complete a full run of Avengers first, just because it's a lot more affordable. And as you're going to see, I just checked a lot of the big books off of my list with this purchase. And so let's get into these books. First off, we've got this beautiful book, Avengers number 4, which contains the first Silver Age appearance of Captain America and this iconic Jack Kirby cover. This is a book I didn't expect to pick up anytime soon, but the seller just had it at such a fantastic price that I felt like I just had to pick it up. And I'm so happy to get it. Probably the biggest Avengers book other than number 1. I'd have to look at all the values, but this is certainly a huge key that I have now checked off my list. I don't have number 1 yet. He didn't have that. That was one of the few that he didn't have. But I'm super happy to have gotten this one. And then Avengers number 8, which contains the first appearance of King, one of my favorite villains. I love time travel stories. I love multiverse stories. And of course, King's character is central to both of those concepts. And so I love him as a character. And I think this is a really great book to be investing in right now. Because as you probably know, King, one of his variants, made an appearance in the Loki show. And this book really shot through the roof, but it's since cooled down. But we know for sure that this character is at least going to be in the next Ant-Man movie. And I really think that he's probably got even a bigger role beyond that. Maybe the Thanos of Phase 4. But if you are interested in this character, now is definitely the time to pick it up, in my opinion. And I am certainly glad that I now have. All right, and then we've got the next issue, Avengers number 9, which contains the first appearance of Wonder Man, who is probably one of the biggest Avengers that hasn't been in the MCU yet. So I feel it's inevitable that this character is there sometime in the next few years in some capacity. Some people thought he might be in WandaVision because he's got a big role in kind of the Vision mythos. And I was hoping he would be, but he wasn't. But I am super happy to have this, and all these first few issues, these early issues are certainly lower grade, maybe 3.0s, something like that. But I mean, whenever you can get a Silver Age key, any grade is wonderful to have. Then number 11, and this contains the first time SpiderMan was in an Avengers book, and of course, again, I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, and so I think this is a super cool book and a really fun cover. Avengers number 23, and this contains the first appearance of Ravonna Renslayer, who is a romantic interest of King and was in Loki season 1 and is already confirmed to be in Loki season 2. And I think just like number 8, I mean, this book certainly isn't as valuable as that, but this is, if you like that character, it's a good time to get this book because it spiked during Loki 1. It's cooled down a bit, but I fully anticipate it will go right back up when that character is there in season 2. Now we're going to fast forward several issues, and we have Avengers number 52, which contains the first appearance of another really fun villain, the Grim Reaper, who is actually the brother of Wonder Man. And so if Wonder Man comes to the MCU at some point, I think there's a pretty decent chance that we would eventually see the Grim Reaper, because again, he's so tied to that character's story and has his own history with the Avengers overall. Next, we have another really big Avengers key, number 57, the first appearance of the Vision, an awesome character, and another iconic cover. We've got issue 62, which is the first appearance of M'Baku, another book that I think is a really good one to consider investing in right now, because we know this character is going to be in Wakanda forever, and so the book will certainly go up at least in some value before then. But there's a big question of who's going to take on the Black Panther role from T'Challa in this next movie. And the leading candidate is Shuri, but there's been some whispers that it might be M'Baku. And part of this is because there's been some conflict between Disney and the actress that portrays Shuri, Letitia, I think is her first name, right? And so I would not be surprised to see M'Baku become the Black Panther. He's had a bigger role in the comics lately, which might mean that they're preparing him for a bigger role in the MCU. And so I think this has a lot of potential to explode if he is Black Panther. At the minimum, it's certainly going to go up before that movie, but the potential to just go to the stratosphere if he becomes Black Panther. All right, we have Avengers 71, which contains the first appearance of the Invaders. And also, this is when the Black Knight joins the Avengers. And so the Black Knight is certainly going to come into the MCU officially as the Black Knight at some point. The Eternals hinted at that. But that would create more interest in this book if he does become an Avenger. Number 83. This contains kind of the first appearance of Valkyrie. So this, it's the Valkyrie character's first appearance, but you find out towards the end of the issue that it's actually the Enchantress disguised as a Valkyrie. And then later on, I think it's in the Hulk maybe, you have the regular Valkyrie, the one that was the Valkyrie forever, Barbara Norris. But this also contains the first appearance of the Lady Liberators. So a neat book. Number 129. Nothing super significant about this other than the fact that it's an awesome King cover. I like to collect my villain covers, especially if you've been watching my videos, Doctor Doom covers. But I also like King covers and think this is a really neat one. We've got Avengers 196, which contains the first appearance of the Taskmaster, another great character in comics. I wasn't really excited about how this character came off in the Black Widow movie. I hope they do a better job if they bring the character back into the MCU, which I think there's a decent chance that happens. What do you think? I'm curious to hear. Did you like Taskmaster if you saw the Black Widow movie, or do you agree with me? Not done as well as it could have been. But regardless, very fun character, very cool cover. Now, Avengers 202, nothing super special about this one. It's a cool Ultron cover. But for some reason, I've had a hard time finding this book at a decent price. So I'm glad that I did. And then that brings me to my sleeper of the week. And I bought a bunch of books, or by a bunch, like four, for $1. Some later issue Avengers, and some of those I've highlighted in previous videos about kind of sleeper of the week type books. And this is one that I don't think I've highlighted yet. And it's Avengers 232. And if you can pick this up for $1 or so, great value. I think this is the first appearance of Star Fox as Star Fox. So Eros is introduced back when Thanos is in Iron Man 55, but he doesn't become the character Star Fox until this one, Avengers 232. And so this is one of this character's biggest keys. And spoiler alert, fast forward 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. In the end credits of the Eternals, you see this character portrayed by Harry Styles, and so there's clearly a future for that character in the MCU. And so whenever he comes back, this book will certainly jump in value quite a bit, and it already has jumped some. All right, well, that brings me to my question of the week. So I mentioned, like Wonder Man is a character, an Avenger, a very popular Avenger that hasn't debuted in the MCU yet, but there are other big ones like Hercules. I'm curious, what Avenger has not been in the MCU yet that you most want to see there? And for me, it is Wonder Man. Now, I always liked him. I grew up kind of when West Coast Avengers was first kind of getting started, a little bit into that run, and I actually liked that team more than the Avengers team at that time, and Wonder Man was one of the key components of that team, and so I always thought he was a fun character, and so I'd really like to see him in the MCU, and kind of there's a really interesting dynamic between him and Vision and the Scarlet Witch. If you don't know his story, he loves the Scarlet Witch, but then he died, and his brainwaves were used for the Vision, and so the Vision loves the Scarlet Witch, but it's really Wonder Man loving the Scarlet Witch, and so when he comes back to life somehow, it creates this love triangle, and I don't think they'll do that in the MCU, but that really created a lot of interest for me in the character. So anyway, who would you like to see? Well, that brings me to an end of the video. Of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd appreciate if you'd consider doing so. Like, comment, tell me what comics you've picked up or what you think I should be looking to pick up. But I enjoyed this one and hope you did as well.